Well, welcome to the third session of our forum. In the morning session, a few issues, including North Korean nuclear issue and refugee rentierism and other refugee issues, and the relationship between the freedom and terrorism were discussed. In the afternoon session, I could see a lot smaller audience. My name is Junyoung Park. I am the Korean ambassador to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I just returned from Saudi Arabia in early January, and I also retired in February. And now I'm at the Yonsei University. The theme of our third session, is ethnicity, diaspora, and cultural diversities. First of all, let me thank Professor Kang and Professor Chung for inviting me to moderate this session. It is my great honor personally to have this chance. And today, for our session, we invited 3 presenters and 3 discussants. But unfortunately, one of the 3 presenters is missing today. So we have 2 presenters and 3 discussants. One presenter, let me introduce our presenter. One of the 2 is Dr. Sadbo Kasoba Aigul, Dr. Aigul, and Professor Lee Kwang-tae. And the 3 discussants are first Professor Lee Jin-young, and Professor Lee Chu-young-bin, and Professor Kim Do-hoon. Yes. I think our theme and the title, our theme is very opportune. It's very timely because when we look at the current situation with the ethnic diversity in Korea, we are going through some changes. Many people have been saying that Korea is a ethnically homogeneous nation, but these days people don't say that anymore. So we are ethnically and culturally diverse. I have been posted abroad in many countries, including the US, Myanmar, Canada, and China, Saudi Arabia, and Austria. And out of those 7 countries, 6 countries, 7 countries, 4 countries have the issue of ethnic diversity, such as US, Myanmar, and Canada, and China. I have spent 10 years of my career in China. China is composed of 56 ethnic groups. And very ironically, my last post was Saudi Arabia, but I didn't see any ethnic problem in Saudi Arabia, unlike other Arab countries. So it differs depending on the countries and their historical backgrounds. But in case of Korea, just recently we are receiving the growing number of different ethnic groups from other countries, and some of them are coming back from foreign countries where they have been long living there. So now the foreigners who are living in Korea comprise, the foreigners with foreign nationalities and diasporas who were originated from Korea a long time ago. So now Korea has to think about the future ethnic diversity that we are going to face in the future. So today's discussion will be a part of a good preparation for the future ethnic diversity. And today, our Dr. Aigul from Kazakhstan is going to present and to introduce the ethnic diversity in Kazakhstan. And also, she is going to introduce to us some challenges that Kazakhstan is facing these days with regard to the ethnic diversity. And Professor Lee Kwang-tae had conducted some interesting survey about Korean people's perception of Korean diaspora who are returning to Korea. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to give our floor to the presenters. First, Dr. Aigul, yes.
Thank you. Good day for all. Thank you for inviting me in this conference. It's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you, dear moderator, for present myself. And I content today about Kazakhstan experience of a multi-ethnical society and government public policy. Can I use the presentation on the screen? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we are given 1.5 hours, but because we miss one presenter, so we can have enough time. So each presenter can have more than 20 minutes, up to 30 minutes. So, okay, you can do that first. Professor Lee.
Hello, my name is Kwang-tae Lee, in Hallym University. Dr. Sadvukasova has some technical difficulties, so let me thank you very much for allowing me to go first. And I feel a little bit burdened because the unexpected situation. But anyway, I will do my best. And I'm really glad to see my old colleagues here in HK+ research agency, because before I started working in Hallym University, I used to spend 3 years here in Hankuk University. So I'm very honored and very feel proud of my old colleagues putting together this wonderful conference and forum. So for the people who are watching this conference via YouTube, I want to also suggest you should watch the forum which was held last week. My presentation title is South Koreans' Perception of the Korean Diaspora in Central Asia and China. Here, as you all know, the Korean diaspora in Central Asia is usually called the Korean. And those diasporas in China are often called 조선족. So if I say Korean, please remember that I'm referring to those in Central Asia. And if I say 조선족, please consider it the diaspora in China. So those two Koreans and 조선족 diasporas in Central Asia and China have been regarded as very special compatriots because their historical development was a little bit different from other diasporas of South Koreans. Those two diasporas were formed during the late Joseon dynasty, and those people who decided to move to the former Russian Empire was the origin of the diaspora in Central Asia, Korean, and other groups who decided to move to then Qing China is the ancestors of now Joseon족, the diaspora in China. And after the breakout of the Korean War in 1950, both of the diasporas were not allowed to return to their fatherland, that is the Korean Peninsula, because of the Cold War and the difference of ideological difference. And since 1991, after the collapse of Soviet Union, the relationship with the South Korea were recovered, and a lot of people began to move to South Korea, which creating a huge stream of human and economic exchanges. Yes, for those who probably are not well aware of those two diasporas, the Central Asian diaspora, Koreans, are now living mostly in Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and Kyrgyzstan. And the total estimate of the population is about 500,000. And those Korean diaspora in China are also provided with a special status, with the special the Chinese legal provinces in mostly Jilin and Heilongjiang provinces, and their population are estimated to be around 2 million. And both diasporas are supposed to share some features. They all have long history of a relationship with North Korea. We can assume that because of their political situation, those in which those diasporas in Central Asia were living as Soviet Union's citizens of the Soviet Union, and those people in China also were held citizenship of People's Republic of China. So they are all under the communist government, and now the Chinese, the Joseon족, the diaspora in China still are considered as the Chinese citizens. And both diasporas also had difficulties with engaging in South Koreans, mostly due to language problems, particularly for Central Asian Koreans. They were so Sovietized, and most of the Koreans at the moment do not speak Korean in their homeland, even in Kazakhstan or Uzbekistan. So when they move or when they come to South Korea for their work or study, they have to be re-educated and have to learn Koreans. Joseon족 is a little bit different, in a different situation, because they speak Koreans in their diaspora in China. And both diasporas also have went through a sort of political influence by their current residing countries, particularly for diaspora in China, the Joseonjuks, because the Chinese economic boom has started in 1990s. The China is growing powerful in world international relations, and that could actually have an impact on the relationship between South Korea and the diaspora in China, in Joseonjuk diaspora. And both diasporas also, many members of both diaspora decided to move and resettle in South Korea after 1991. But some have experienced cultural biases and exclusion and even discrimination in South Korea. So some of them had to return to Central Asia or China. But recently, we see some little different changes are occurring because many many Korean people in diaspora, both in Central Asia and China, now are feeling South Korea's lack of a workforce. As you all know, South Korea is having a very serious population decrease problem. And for the lack of a workforce, many Joseonjuk and Koreans are moving and started to work as a worker or laborer in South Korea's work hierarchy. So that makes the South Koreans welcome those diaspora people. And another change is popularity of K-culture, or so-called K-wave, Hallyu, so which makes many diaspora people willing to come to South Korea and become like South Koreans. So debates among South Koreans have gotten intense on how we can share benefits with those diaspora migrants. So I was wondering what South Koreans' current perception are toward the two diasporas. That was the beginning of my research, and to find answers of those questions, I made a small questionnaire survey, and this questionnaire survey was conducted during this September, and I got the 207 responses. It was I admit that it was very small, but I'm still collecting the questionnaires, so it will increase, and I hope to see that soon. And the questionnaire consists of 10 questions, choosing one out of 4 options: strong agree, disagree, and strongly disagree. And up to now, I got 207 responses, and you can see the age of the responses in the chart. And the 10 questions are actually 2 sets of 5 identical questions. 5 for diaspora in Central Asia, Koreans, and the other 5 for diaspora in China, Joseonjuks. The first question is, do you think positively about the Korean diaspora in Central Asia or in China? And this question was intended to find out favorability toward the question to diasporas. And the second question was, do you think that Korean diaspora in Central Asia are the same people as yours? This question was about the perception of one nationhood. And the third question was, I know at least one famous figure among the Korean diaspora in Central Asia or in China. It was intended to check if the South Koreans have basic knowledge about the diasporas, represented by the knowledge of the most famous people of the diaspora. And the first question was, do you agree that the Korean diaspora in Central Asia in China may be given the same treatment, including rights and obligations, as South Korean nationals, if they wish? So it was to find out the eagerness to treat the diasporas as Korean nationals, including to agreement to offer them the same legal rights as well as obligations. And the final question was, do you think the Korean diaspora in Central Asia or in China will contribute to the future development of relations between Central Asia and South Korea? And it was to ask about the South Koreans' expectation that the question diasporas would contribute to building better relations between South Korea and their residing countries. So the result was like this. The first question, about the first question, the most responses were strongly agree or agree. It was more than, yes, it was around 89% of positivity for the South Koreans' favorability toward the Korean diaspora in Central Asia, Koreans. And for the second question, the Korean diaspora in Central Asia are the same nation as us. It also showed the similar tendencies that 45% was strongly agreed, and 47% was agreed. And the third question, I know at least one famous figure of the Korean diaspora in Central Asia, and the majority of the respondents say they don't disagree or strongly disagree, which shows the low level of knowledge of the Central Asian Korean diaspora. Yeah. Yes. And the question number 4, if they wish, the Korean diaspora in Central Asia may be given the same treatment, including rights and obligations, as South Korean nationals. And the answer was that 72.9% were strongly agree and agrees. This relatively high level of inclusiveness can be linked to South Koreans' high level of feeling oneness. The answer of question number 2 with the Korean diaspora. And the last question for the Korean survey was the Korean diaspora in Central Asia will contribute to future development of relations between Central Asia and South Korea. And 82.6% were agreed and strongly agreed. So it was very. It was showing that how much expectation South Koreans have in terms of furthering relationship between South Korea and Central Asian countries. And let's move on to the case of Chinese 조선족s. So it was essentially the same question with the Central Asian Koreans. And the question number 6, I think positively about the Korean diaspora in China, 조선족, but unlike the answers for Central Asian Koreans, the respondents, the majority of the respondents chose disagree and strongly disagree, and which is pretty shocking to me, because I had assumed that the South Koreans have the same level of perception between the Chinese diaspora and the Korean, the Central Asian Korean diaspora. But the question number 6, the result of the question number 6 shows the assumption was wrong. And the 7th question, the Korean diaspora in China are the same nation as us. And it was also a little bit surprising that given the answer of question 5, I could also assume that the answer of the question 6 also, the majority of the answer would be sorry. Yes, it was the same thing. Yes, would be the disagree or strongly disagree. But as it turned out here, it is proven that the majority of the Koreans really think that those Chinese Joseonjoks are the same nation as South Koreans. So there could be a difference in the answers of question number 6 and question number 7. And the 8th question was, I know at least one famous figure of the Korean diaspora in China. And like the answer of the question number 3, most South Koreans do not have much information about the Korean diaspora in China and Central Asia either. And question number 9 was, if they wish, the Korean diaspora in China may be given the same treatment, including rights and obligations, as South Korean nationals. And yes, it was also the show the disparity from the exactly the same question in the question number 4 about the Goryeo-hin, the Central Asian diasporas. The answer of question number 4 was the majority agreed, but here the majority disagreed. So it was also very revealing. And the last question was, the Korean diaspora in China will contribute to the future development of relationship between China and South Korea. And the answers agreed strongly and disagree, strongly disagree are very similar, very even, but slightly, almost 85% respondents chose the disagreement. So this is the conclusion. According to the result of the questionnaire, South Koreans seems to have very different points of view on Central Asian Koreans from those on Chinese Joseonjoks in terms of favorability, inclusivity, and future expectations. The difference in South Korea's position may be caused by a better relationship between South Korea and Central Asian countries rather than between South Korea and China. Especially in these days, South Korea has difficulty in making the relationship with China better, so it could be reflected in the answers. And another reason could be a different attitude of the diasporas. Central Asian Koreans prefer to identify themselves as Koreans, while Chinese Joseonjoks prefer to call themselves Chinese. That could also be that could also have an impact on the South Koreans' perceptions of diasporas. And third reason could be a different acceptance of the Korean wave K-culture boom, because the Central Asians, Koreans, look more enthusiastic to accept and appreciate the Korean wave compared to Chinese Joseonjoks. However, the survey shows that, as we can see in the answers question number 2 and 7, South Koreans still strongly feel that both diasporas are the same Korean nation. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your presentation. When you think about Korean diasporas living abroad, we also have to think of the history of their migration into other countries. Korea has long been isolated from foreign influence. At the last moment of the Joseon Dynasty, Korea was open to Western powers, and because of the difficult situation inside of Korea, many Koreans had to migrate into other countries. So maybe we can date back to in the mid-19th centuries when our first group of migration took place. They moved over to China and then Japan, I think, and also Central Asia. So very interestingly, except for Japan, Korean diasporas started with their migration into socialist countries or communist countries. And only in the 1960s, the other group of Korean immigrants went abroad to the US and Latin America and European countries. So still they have a very different standing in their living country, and depending on their history of their migration. And now today's presentation is about Korean diasporas who are living in previously communist countries. But we also have to take into consideration other factors about other Korean diasporas who are living in the US and Japan and Latin America and the European countries. So now we are going to move on to Dr. Aigul for her presentation.
Thank you so much. I am so sorry for my first chance, and I have a second chance to presentation today. Thank you. My presentation about ethnic diversity policy of Kazakhstan, and the content addresses of 3 key topics today. Don't have any chance. First, we will explore the background of Kazakhstan's multi-ethnicity and examine the current situation. Second, I will introduce to public policy concept. And lastly, we will discuss the risk and measures in Kazakhstan interethnic policy. Here are, Here are some facts about Kazakhstan. It is the 9th largest country in the world by land area, and Kazakhstan ranks 64th globally in terms of population. It's no so big country, maybe big country like area, but not a big country of population. It is home of 124 ethnic groups, and people in Kazakhstan speak in 124 different languages. There are representatives of 14 religion denominations in the country. Kazakhstan became a multi-ethnic nation in the early 19th century as a result of several large migration waves. Firstly, Kazakhstan experienced ethnic migration between 1877 and 1910. The number of Kazakhs was estimated at 18% of the population, with Russian being more than 10%. and Ukrainian 2% of less. Additionally, the Uyghurs and Dungans migrated to Kazakhstan after signing the 1881 treaty between the Russian Empire and China. Secondly, from the 1920s to the 1950s, Kazakhstan faced significant challenge due to famine, deportation, and evacuation. During the Z period, a total of 1.3 million people migrated out of Kazakhstan, which 660,000 of them relocating abroad to countries such as China, Mongolia, Afghanistan, Iran, and Turkey. Additionally, nearly 15% of the Kazakh population persisted during the years of collectivization. For example, these pictures shows some pictures about this historical period of Kazakhstan history. During the years of mass repression, over 3 million people were deported to Kazakhstan. This included Azerbaijans, Germans, Chechens, Kurds, Meskhetian Turks, Balkars, Armenian, Kalmyks, Crimean Tatar, Karachais, Koreans, and others. In total, representatives over 66 ethnic groups were forcibly relocated to Kazakhstan during this period. They were accused of treason and forcibly evicted from their homes. During the Second World War, a large number of evacuees began arriving in Kazakhstan. By the end of 1941, more than 300,000 people had been relocated to the region, and after the World War times, the number had risen to over 500,000 people. Thirdly, labor migration to Kazakhstan occurred after 1950s, specifically between 1954 and 1970. During this period, around 500,000 people arrived, mainly labor migrants from the European part of Soviet Union, including Russian, Ukrainians, and Belarusians. A rapid increase in the number of ethnic groups is evident from the histogram, showing that between 1920 and 1970, the number of ethnic groups rose from 38 to 114. By 1990, Kazakhstan was home to 130 ethnic groups. Even after gaining independence, Kazakhstan has remained a multi-ethnic society. According to the 2021 census, Kazakhstan is home to 124 ethnic groups. The number of Kazakhs has risen significantly, increasing by 33.7%, and they now make up over 70% of the population, making them the largest ethnic group. The second largest group is Russians, with a population of over 2 million. As a result, Kazakhstan's demographic composition continued to reflect a diverse mix of ethnic groups. The country's ethnic diversity management policy aims to promote inclusive governance and ensure equality for all citizens, regardless of their ethnic backgrounds. This policy is applied consistently across all ethnic groups, regardless of their size of composition. The concept of public policy is grounded in two principles. The first principle is different origins, equal opportunities, which emphasizes equal opportunities for all citizens, irrespective of their ethnicity, origin, religion, or social status in social, political, and economic development. The depoliticization of ethnic issues. The prohibition of political parties based on ethnicity, and the prohibition of including ethnic hatred also. The next principle of public policy is unity in diversity, which signifies that Kazakhstan fosters a civil identity while presenting and supporting the ethnic identities of all its citizens. Key aspects of this principle include the term ethnic minorities is avoided in societal discourse as it implies a division based on size of ethnic groups, which is deemed unacceptable in Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan is viewed as a homeland for all ethnic groups, promoting integration based on citizenship. There are guarantees for the preservation of the cultural, linguistic, and traditional heritage of all ethnicities. State policy is executed through collaboration between governmental bodies and the non-governmental sector. For instance, the Ministry of Culture and Information is a part of the government, while the Assembly of the People of Kazakhstan serves as a non-governmental organization comprised of ethnic cultural association. The President of Kazakhstan serves as the chairman of Assembly of the People of Kazakhstan, which has branches in all regions of the country. Assembly of People of Kazakhstan was established in 1995 and functioned as a consultative and advisory body under the President of the Republic of Kazakhstan. It has the authority to recommend 5 members for appointment to the position of senator in the Parliament of the Republic of Kazakhstan. The primary component of the assembly are the Ethnocultural Association, which the first organization being established in 1889. Their main task is to study and promote the language, culture, and tradition of various ethnic groups in Kazakhstan. The assembly's councils operate in the regions which is the support of government bodies, non-governmental organizations, journalists, and experts. Since 2009, the Scientific and Expert Council of Assembly has been activated, focusing on educational and research projects related to the history, culture, and interethnic relations in Kazakhstan. You can see some pictures about Assembly of People of Kazakhstan, and the government actively supporting ethnic culture, education, and mass media through various initiatives. For example, national treaties have been established for several ethnic groups, including Uyghur, Korean, German, and Uzbek. In 2017, the Uyghur, Korean, and German National Theater were granted academic status. A total of 52 media outlets representing the Ethnocultural Association have been registered. The Club of Journalists collaborates with editors of ethnic newspaper. For example, the oldest Korean language newspaper continues to publish, celebrating over 100 years of operation in Kazakhstan. Schools offering education in the native languages of ethnic groups are enabled in areas where these groups reside in compact communities, including middle schools in Uzbek, Uyghurs, and Tajik languages. There are a strong emphasis on respecting ethnic and religion traditions. For example, May 1st is celebrating as a day of unity, and May 31 is observed as the day of memory. Additionally, Nowruz and Christmas are recognized as public holidays for all citizens. Ongoing, can you see this picture about the oldest Korean newspaper published in Kazakhstan, and the Korean tradition dance for this picture. Participation of ethnic groups in social development. This picture shows that's Uzbek, Georgian, Tatars, and other ethnic groups in Kazakhstan. And participation of ethnic groups in social development, the Assembly of the People of Kazakhstan plays a significant role in creating and supporting social projects for ethnocultural association. For instance, the Mediation Council facilitates public diplomacy among various groups and individuals. Ethnocultural associations also engage benefactors and patrons through the charity Caravan project. Additionally, the Mothers Council, which consists of 1,000 members, provides assistance and support to families while promoting national value. On the most significant project is titled The Memory for the Future, which aims to preserve the legacy of those who were forcibly relocated to Kazakhstan. These individuals endured numerous hardships but managed to survive with the support of local Kazakhs. They have since made Kazakhstan their homeland and strive to pass their memories as experience on to the younger generation. There are also youth organizations that encompass 17 branches focusing on fostering platforms, love for the homeland, self-development, and various engaging projects. The Manbala project involves young people who are eager to learn the state language. Additionally, the Club of Journalists of the Assembly of the People of Kazakhstan organizes media forum and works on establishing ethnical guidelines for the information sector. All these projects share a common goal: to prevent conflict and foster a collaborative environment. This picture shows about a day of memory, 31 May. It's like the National Day of Memory about who died the period of the fostered relocation and repression of the Soviet period, and celebrating the 1st May and Nowruz celebration Nowruz also. But Kazakhstan faces a new risk in nowadays. There are several risks in the environmental sphere. For example, xenophobia and intolerance, the spread of hate speech, and the use of ethnic content on online platforms can provoke real conflict. In regions with high population density and low living standards, contradiction may arise using ethnic markers. And sensitively to external violence, ethnic communities may be particularly sensitive to violence occurring in the external environment. And next slide shows about how the public policy and government working to this area requires ongoing attention and effective measures, including the monitoring and social research. For example, institute which representative me, the Institute of Applied Ethnopolitical Research, and provides practical recommendation for the governmental bodies on studies of interethnic relations across various regions, and local social project initiatives like Peace and Harmony promote community cohesion, and state language education programs aimed at teaching the state language for all citizens, conflict management training for civil servants and other people conducted at the Academy of Public Administration under the President of Kazakhstan and Eurasian National University, and journalist training focused on enacting the understanding of interethnic issues. These actions are designed to foster the integration of ethnic groups, created a support environment, and promote a culture of positive interethnic relation. Kazakhstan, so it's my last picture and conclusion. Interethnic relations play a key role in social and political life in Kazakhstan. Large-scale shift in politics, economic, education, and the media significantly affect this relation. In terms of decision-making and public policy implementation, new challenges are emerging due to the following factors. First factors, low standard of living in rural areas and socioeconomic inequality. Second, transformation of social values among the young generation. And finally, social media. It is important to emphasize that Kazakhstan policy towards supporting ethnic diversity remains centered on maintaining balance, preventing conflict, and fostering integration. The government actively addresses new challenges as they emerge, with the overarching goal of promoting unity and ensuring justice. Thank you so much for listening, and I am sorry for my pronunciation in English. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. At my first sight of Dr. Aigul, I assumed that she must be Korean. But actually, this kind of misjudgment happens in our on the ground for our Korean diplomats. Whenever we encounter some diplomats from Kazakhstan or other Central Asian countries, we are confused with the Koreans. So, anyway, thanks to her presentation, we came to know that Kazakhstan is a country whose ethnic diversity is huge. Very interestingly, we already presumed that Kazakhstan is a large country, but it's never a large country in terms of its total population. But the population is composed of 124 ethnic groups. Huge. China has, as I said, 56. Saudi Arabia has about 26. But Kazakhstan, very interesting, especially when it is compared with Korea's situation. Very interestingly, Korea and China and Japan were open to outside the world very late. And we thought of this belated openness of our society as the main cause for our weakness. But maybe thanks to the late openness of our society, we were able to maintain a relatively simple composition of ethnic groups. Unlike China, because China is a huge country that has encompassed the various ethnic groups throughout their history. And now, we are move on to our discussions. We are going to start with Professor Lee.
Okay. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm Jin Young Lee from the School of International Studies at Jeonbuk National University. And then let me introduce briefly the discussed. And my research focused on the ASEAN. It means the Southeast Asia region, and then including the policy-related work on member state expansions, regional development gaps, and then the international development cooperations. And these days, I focused on the Peranakan heritage in the Malacca, Malaysia, and Singapore. So I'm happy to see you all today at this session and looking forward to our conversations. I've learned lots of things from two presenters and focused on the Kazakhstan, Dr. Aygul, and Dr. Aygul's research touched upon a number of critical issues related to the Kazakhstan and then some kind of the ethnic diversities. So to get the conversation rolling here today, I'd like to ask and then some comments due to some questionnaires. So it is the very interesting point that Kazakhstan avoid the terminology as terms ethnic minorities to maintain an inclusive society approaches. So this promotes the idea that all ethnic groups are equally integral to the nation and fostering a unified national identity. So another interesting point from your presentation, I just think about the mentioned lots of times youth groups, the meaning that for the next generation, and then the shift in values among the younger generations toward the civic identity over the traditional norms, and this seems to be an important development, I think. So maybe it reflects how modernization and the globalizations influence the national unit and maybe the intergenerational relations. So maybe the lots of things, lots of interesting points from your presentation, and then the government supports for schools and the national theaters, and then the ethnic medias ensure that the cultural heritages is the preservers, maybe the fostering a sense of the national belongs. So that this seems crucial, I think, the critical point for preventing the cultural assimilations and maintaining the ethnic diversities. So the Kazakhstan's proactive approach to conflict prevention to prevent, and such as the conflict management training and the journalist educations, and seems like the vital for maintaining the peace situations in a diverse and diverse society. So it would be the insightful to hear more about how these programs have impacted the local communities, maybe the rural areas, maybe, I think so. So it is my main concern about the socio-economic inequality, because most of my research focus about the development gap in the nations and then among the countries. So the rural, urban divided and ethno-economic inequalities are highlighted as challenges in the future more and the present. So how might these socio-economic disparities into ethnic tensions, and what policies could alleviate these challenges in the future? So this is my main concern and main questions. And actually, I just wondering, and then some minor questions from your material and presentation material. So first thing is that a minor question. So the policy framework mentioned about that the different origins and the equal opportunities promotes equalities regardless of ethnicity. And how has the prohibition of the ethnic-based political parties affected the political stabilities in Kazakhstan? And then the second thing is that from the presentations mentioned the xenophobia and the online hate speech and the socio-economic inequalities as potential risks. Potential risks mentioned about that. How is the Kazakhstan addressing these issues, and that especially focused with regard to the younger generations, the youth, and the shifting the social values? So that's all some kind of the comments and the two minor questions. And then let's move to Professor Lee's presentation. I just wondering, one thing is that the survey reveals and the survey addressed a stark contrast point about the South Koreans' favorabilities toward the Korean diaspora in Central Asia. It's just called Korea인, and compared to the diasporas in China, Joseon족. So what factors might contribute to these significant differences in perception? So that is my some questions. And then thank you very much for two presentation. I've learned lots of things from your presentation. Thank you.
Okay, we can continue to move on to the next discussion. Professor Chu, actually, Chu, surname Chu is not a minorities, minor surname among the Korean surnames. I just asked by ChatGPT how many surnames Koreans have. The answer was about 280. So I wanted to compare this number with the Japanese surnames and Chinese surnames. Very interesting answer I got from my ChatGPT. It says that China has 6,000 surnames. But interestingly, the Japanese have 100,000 surnames. Is it correct? I'm really surprised to see so many Japanese surnames are adopted by the Japanese people. Anyway, Professor Chu, you have the floor.
Thank you. Actually, so many people ask me, are you a Kazakh or Mongol? And my answer is, maybe my father is from Kazakhstan and my mom from Mongolia, and I'm Korean. I answered like that always. My name is, as Ambassador mentioned, my family name is Chu, and my name is Youngmin. I'm a research professor at Hankuk University of Foreign Studies. First of all, I would like to thank all presenters for preparing such a meaningful presentation. I'd like to make a brief comment on Aygul Kakimbek's, a deputy director from Kazakhstan. Ethnic issues, especially in multi-ethnic countries, are a core element that significantly influences social stability and unity. It is a kind of prerequisite for a stable maintenance of a country and its future development. According to the statistics from Ministry of Justice of Korea, the number of foreign residents in Korea in 2023 reached 2.5 million, accounting for 4.89% of the total population. In 2013, this figure was approximately 1.5 million, representing 3.08% of the population. This indicates that over the past decade, more foreigners have entered Korean society. This shift is not only evident in statistics, but can also be observed directly in our everyday lives. As Korea is transitioning into a multicultural society, the presentation on Kazakhstan's multi-ethnic environment and related policies was highly intriguing. I believe that Kazakhstan's approach offers valuable insights as a successful example of addressing ethnic issues, which can be very instructive for Korean society. As mentioned by Aygul Kakimbekeze, many experts anticipated the potential for ethnic conflicts in Kazakhstan due to its multi-ethnic demographic composition at the time of independence in 1991. However, contrary to these concerns, Kazakhstan has not experienced serious ethnic conflicts that could threaten the country over the past 30 years since its independence. I believe that Kazakhstan's ability to effectively solve ethnic issues and prevent potential problems can be attributed to the Assembly of People of Kazakhstan, as highlighted in today's presentation. From now on, I will refer this institution as APK in short. So I have considered some characteristics for the APK that might be instructive for Korea. First, I would like to highlight how the APK has adapted appropriately to the evolving context of Kazakhstani society. Unlike other Central Asian countries, which emphasize the language and culture of the titular nation immediately after the independence, the Kazakhstani government officially recognized the formation of various ethnic associations and ethnocultural associations supporting the preservation of each group's culture and language. In 2007, after a certain level of nation building has been achieved, 9 members of the lower house were elected through the APK, and since 2022, 5 members of the Senate have been selected through the APK. Additionally, the APK holds annual meetings each April or May to listen to and discuss the opinions of various ethnic groups, making policy adjustment as needed based on the current situation. Of course, the law that prohibits the formation of political parties based on the ethnicity does not necessarily provide equal opportunity to all. However, considering that non-Kazakh ethnic groups made up a large proportion of the population at the time of independence, without such legislation, there could have been significant ethnic conflicts or movement for secession, which might have hindered the social stability and economic development Kazakhstan enjoys today. Furthermore, if opportunities for parliamentary representation had not been provided to non-Kazakh groups in the 2000s, it might have led to increased emigration of these groups, ethnic groups. Thus, the APK is not an institution that imposes government policies, but rather one that listens to the voices of society and incorporates them into policy in a timely manner. Additionally, I would like to emphasize that the APK plays a role as a bridge to shape a new civic identity in independent Kazakhstan. I'm aware that there are House of Friends under the APK across Kazakhstan. During my time in Astana, I often visited there, and I feel like this is the small version of Kazakhstani society. Various ethnic groups expressed their own cultural characteristics, at the same time formed other civic groups beyond the ethnic boundaries based on social roles such as mothers, elders, aksakal, students, and journalists. Therefore, the APK can be seen as more than just an institution supporting the various ethnic groups that make up Kazakhstan. It plays a crucial role in facilitating the formation and growth of a new civic identity in independent Kazakhstan. Sometimes I feel that Korea's multicultural policies swing between assimilationism and unregulated multiculturalism. Additionally, policymaking and implementation often occur in isolation within individual agencies and institutions. Of course, the Kazakhstan's multicultural environment differs significantly from that of Korea. However, the APK offers a thought-provoking example of how to understand and approach multicultural societies, encouraging us to rethink effective methods for building a cohesive civic community. In this regard, I hope that both countries the Kazakhstan and Korea can create various platforms for dialogue to share their experiences on the topic of multi-ethnic and multicultural society and find more effective solutions together in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Chu. You just mentioned the number of foreigners living or working inside Korea is growing very fast. Actually, at my first sight of Korean society when I came back from Riyadh early this year, I was surprised to see so many foreigners living. Working in the streets. They may be living or traveling, but during the weekend, I like hiking in the mountains, and you have a good mountains surrounding the city of Seoul. In Inwang Mountain, I saw so many foreigners hiking in the mountains. Intermingled with the Koreans, so it's a lot more crowded inside and on the top of the mountains these days. It's a good news anyway. And I also agree that APK plays a very important role in Kazakhstan to manage the ethnic issues. Before I came here, I also read the report submitted by our Kyrgyz professor, Kairabek, Dr. Kairabek, and he also referred to assembly of people of Kyrgyzstan. So I realized that both countries have a very similar institution, which plays a very important role in managing the ethnic issues. Okay, let's move on to Professor Kim.
Thank you, moderator. My name is Kim Do-hoon from Hankuk University of Foreign Studies, and I'd like to thank two presenters for their presentation. Since the two discussioners discussed about Dr. Eichel's presentation, so my discussion mainly focused on Professor Lee Kwang-tae's presentation. And he conducted a survey in 2024 with South Korean respondents, and the study measures favorability or perception of national identity, knowledge, inclusivity, and expectation regarding these diaspora communities. And Professor Lee Kwang-tae said it's shocking, but I expected the result of the survey, and it indicates a stark contrast. South Koreans generally hold more positive views toward Korea saram, seeing them as more closely tied to the Korean identity and more likely to contribute to relations between Central Asia and South Korea. And on the other hand, the Joseonjuk, the Chinese Korean, are viewed less favorably, despite the fact that many South Koreans still perceive them as a part of larger Korean identity, and despite the number of people residing in South Korea. And I think this paper presents an insightful comparison of two Korean diaspora communities that have been shaped by differing historical and political circumstances. And the use of survey data, even though it's a very small number of people, but you say it's growing, you are still collecting the people's survey data. It helps ground the analysis in contemporary public opinion, offering empirical insights into how these communities are perceived today. And actually, my discussion mainly goes around 3 points. The first one is, even though it's not very closely related to its main theme, but in your conclusion, you mentioned about the people in Central Asia and China, which is Korea and Joseonjuk. The perception of themselves is quite different. You said that Korean perceived them as Korean. On the other hand, Joseonjuk mainly perceives them as Chinese people. But actually, I'd like to mention that those identity of Joseonjuk people in China is way more complex, because I dug into very same issue in the last month. There is another survey conducted by another scholar that asked those Joseonjuk people how they perceive themselves. And the first question is, where is your homeland? And overwhelming majority of respondents empirically answered that China is their motherland. And when they were asked that, which language do you perceive as your mother tongue? And 35% of people, 35% of Joseonjuk people said their mother tongue is Korean, and rest 64.9% of people chose Chinese and Korean, both are their mother tongue, and none of them chose Chinese as their mother tongue, which means that when they were asked about their nationality or from the political perspective, they conceived they are Chinese people. But when they were asked about their, the cultural background and the root of their identity, they think they are a part of Korean people. So I think when you do the survey, you have to maybe to mention about those things. And the second thing is that even though the paper provides a comprehensive analysis of South Koreans' perceptions of Korean diaspora in Central Asia, but I'm wondering, grouping Central Asia as a single region maybe overlook the important nuances in the relationships between South Korea and individual Central Asian countries. Because in her presentation, Dr. Aigul also mentioned that every single country in Central Asia has their distinctive ethnic policies towards those Korean diaspora in their respective countries. So I think there must be differences among those countries, and it might result in some kind of different response of the people about this survey. And the third one is Professor Lee also mentioned. I'd like to know about the why issue of the significant differences that exist between the perceptions of the two groups. Of course, there are several factors, including those bilateral relations between South Korea and respective countries, or South Korea and China relations, as well as the media portrayal in South Korea, and how the media and such as the news broadcast or movie or TV dramas depicts those Joseonjok and Korean in their respective cultural contents. Also influences those South Korean people, how they look and how they see those foreign people. So I'd like to raise a question. What do you think is one of the most important factor that decides the differences between two diaspora groups? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for your questions and comments. You reminded me of a certain group of Korean people's perception about Joseonjok, Korean compatriots living in China. Until the end of 1990s, many Korean people ask Joseonjok, which country or which team are you going to support in the soccer competition taking place between Korea and China? Most of them answered, no, we support the Chinese team. So Korean people came to realize that, the Joseonjok is not on the side of Korea. Anyway, I don't think, when after we enter into the 2000s, the Korean people don't ask such questions, a silly question anymore. Now, the floor is open to you to answer those questions.
Thank you for all panelists for discuss about our presentation, and especially many thanks to Professor Lee Jin-young and Chu Yeon-ming for discuss about my issue and experience of Kazakhstan. And I recognize several questions in your speech, but I heard about just two main questions, Professor Lee. Yeah, okay. For example, I think we really write about public policy in Kazakhstan, which provides the principle of unity in diversity, because it is still the two opposite process. For example, one process toward to the maintaining the ethnic identity, and second process is the creating the unify of all citizens of Kazakhstan. Yes, I agree. What is a controversial process, but the Kazakhstan government try to unify all of citizens, regardless or such as regardless of ethnic background, because we have the long period of Soviet politics, which divided ethnic minorities and not do welcome to ethnic culture, ethnic linguistic, etc. And after we have the independence, this ethnic renaissance was very good emphasis for all people who can live, who can lose your identity, ethnic identity. And Kazakhstan governance supported this ethnic identity become this based ground of created the civic identity. This process, yes, I agree, this process is not easy. It's so strongly and so difficult process. And we have the not long period for establish a strong civic identity, because I say about how our people related with events which come to the other country. For example, we have the long boundaries line with Russia, and we have the abroad with China and other Central Asia countries, and Russia, Kazakhstan, and Central Asia countries are the same ethnic structure of population, and very important for our inner policy and for foreign policy of Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan have the toward to different country, the same politics between Kazakhstan and Russia, between Kazakhstan and Chinese and other Central Asia country, because we have the balance between foreign policy and inner policy in Kazakhstan. And for example, why we provided the one civic identity, for example, I think is we have the two factors for remaining about that. First factors is language policy. Kazakhstan have just one state language as Kazakh language. But we have the situation when more than half people of Kazakhstan don't use Kazakh language in everyday speaking and everyday conversation. And we have official language such as Russian language. And we spoke about Kazakh Korean. For example, Kazakh Korean don't recognize such as mother language, the Korean language, because she changed this mother language to the Russian. And this reality results of the politics of Soviet period. Many Kazakh people also change your mother language to the Russian from Kazakh. But nowadays we see that the Kazakh language have the new renaissance in the new generation. For the new generation, Kazakhstan is an independent state, not because they not now about Kazakhstan such as like a part of Soviet country. Just the independent period, who growing in the independent period. And I don't understand about, I forgot about your two main question. For example, political party and political life. Ethnic groups participate in the political life in country which who represents the political party is not have the limited or quote for ethnic minority. We have not this politics because every citizen of Kazakhstan have a right, have a possibility for include to the political party who involved in your main opinion and your main interest, etc. Okay, I agree that nowadays Kazakhstan faced with xenophobia in the social media because this different hate speech spread of the very fast for all of citizens who have these devices on your hand and without the knowledge about particular content in this situation. If you use ethnic markers without the particular content in our speech, I thought and our researchers show that the social media play an important role of the spread the hate speech, or the spread of the positive opinion between different ethnic groups, between groups and government, and especially Ministry of Culture and Information supports the ethnic public newspaper for created the positive opinion and the really knowledge about culture, about language, and about who is these ethnic groups in Kazakhstan. Thank you so much.
Many questions were raised to her. So now I realize that we have a time constraint. So, Professor Lee.
Yes, thank you for valuable feedbacks and critiques, especially from Professor Kim Do-hoon and Lee Jin-young. And I absolutely agree with you for the 3 points that you raised. The Joseonjok has a very complex identity. And also, I agree that the Central Asian countries have a different policies for, especially when we look at the situation and the formation of our perception of the diasporas in Central Asia Koreans. And let me just make one example that, as far as I know, Kazakhstan has the Kazakh language is the state language, but Russian is the official language, right? But in Uzbekistan, only Uzbek is the official language. So, as you mentioned, there is very different policies and situations, and I think the Koreans are trying to adjust to this new circumstances. So, thank you very much for raising that point, and I will go and check out more about that. And the third question was what was the most important factor, I think, that make the contrast between the contrast of the perception between the Korean, why Koreans think more favorable to Koreans than to Joseonjoks. I don't know. I want to ask you, both of you, and please let me know. Tell me what you think. But as the Professor Kim Do-hoon mentioned, cultural representation is also very have a deep impact because there are so many movies, crime movies, featuring the Joseonjoks as a main criminal perpetrator or suspects. So yeah, that also made an impact, definitely. But I think not just, I don't want to ascribe only the cultural representation issue. The China's position as a world leader, I think, for me, really makes South Koreans nervous because they claim of their claim of hegemony. In South Koreans, I assume that South Koreans are feeling threats to South Korea's identity because, as you know, our cultural heritage, like the 씨름, the cultural wrestling, the traditional wrestling, or 아리랑, our traditional song, are also part of UNESCO's World Heritage of Chinese, the Joseonjuk. So yes, so South Koreans are thinking that China is trying to steal our culture, and Chinese also claim that the South Koreans are stealing their culture. So it kind of cultural war and cultural competition makes the South Koreans nervous. And since the Joseonjuk people claim to be, they want to prefer to identify themselves as Chinese, that probably make the South Koreans think of Joseonjuk not as favorable much as the Korean is. So yes, those kind of are very critical and very delicate issues. So I want to talk more about it with our Chinese experts. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. I thought that we have enough time to allow me to cut in, but. In Korea's diplomacy, actually, during the Cold War era, the Korean diaspora was supposed to contain some political implications. But after and during the post-Cold War era, we think of Korean diaspora as economic connotations. So implications in our diplomacy has changed also. So today, we became aware of diversity and complexity in ethnicity of Kazakhstan. And we noticed that Kazakhstan is making great efforts to support ethnic groups with a special governing system, the core of which is the Assembly of People of Kazakhstan. At the same time, we are aware that Kazakhstan is making very cautious efforts to foster societal unity across ethnic groups. And we also came to know that about the Koreans' perception about Korean diasporas of two groups. And all those contents we got from our presentation and the discussion are instrumental to our preparation for the future ethnic diversity. Thank you very much.